Hello, reader. I'm Alix.
I'm Kelly.
And this is
the LitJoy Podcast.
On today's episode, we actually had an author who couldn't make it today and was stuck in traffic, and life happens. That's just how it happens. Yeah. And so we're like, well, we're already in the studio. We love the folks that we film with down here. And we're like, what do we do? What do we do, guys? And so, and then we had the most original
epiphany
that we are going to do Books to Movies Part 15.
Part 26. I don't know where we're at.
No idea. There are so many of these that we're just like, the list was long, and I can't believe we're going to complete it today.
Officially, we're on part 4 or 5.
It's 5. I think we're on 5.
15?
But I do feel like it's our best self when we do these.
This is really like hanging out with me and Alix at this point. Just
100%.
While we chat through, we're like, our feelings about these books.
Let's judge these books to movies.
Okay. Well, okay. We're going to finish up the list that we had, but we definitely are bringing in some other ones.
And we've added some.
We've added more.
And if there's a repeat on here, just pour a glass of wine and just be here with us on the journey.
Come hang out.
Because we've talked about so many that we sometimes forget. 100%.
Me too. Mm-hmm.
You guys.
We're unhinged and I love it.
It's late afternoon on a Friday, so that's where we're at.
This is when we do our private membership group. We do our Lunicorn Lives.
Yeah.
It's always on a Friday as well, and we're always a little unhinged because it's the end of the week. It's like your mind and your body knows, like, oh, I can power down.
Yeah.
And I think that I always like to assume it adds a little charm to those episodes.
It adds like a fuck ton of charm. We are so charming.
But I was like, there's other words that could be used, but yeah.
Is there?
There could be.
But why?
That's not what I'm using.
Yeah. So the Lunicorn Lives are interesting too, because it's more like an infomercial for all of our product and us seeing it for the first time. So it's like our genuine reactions, which is kind of fun. If you ever want to get more of this, you know where to find us. Awesome. Okay. So Kelly, take us away with book 1 on today's episode.
All right. I'll take you away.
Take me away.
Okay. We're going to start with The Scarlet Letter versus Easy A.
I love it.
I'm trying to remember. Let's see. The Scarlet Letter. Did I read this book in high school? No, I didn't.
I did.
But I know the book well enough to understand what's happening there. But Easy A, for sure, I've seen many times. I freaking love Easy A. It's kind of this like little bit of a cult classic, I would say. And that it's not like this mainstream one that everyone's seen or enjoys. But I freaking love it for obvious reasons, because it's mimicking the Scarlet Letter, of course, and bringing in those elements. And it's in a very modern pop culture way.
Yes.
And she's choosing to ostracize herself. Emma Stone?
Emma Stone plays the lead.
There's so many Emmas out there in the acting world. But on top of it, I just think it's so sarcastic, it's witty, it's clever, and she's pulling in
literary, right?
Yeah, because she's bringing in like literary tropes.
Yeah.
On purpose. And it just adds to the humor, because it's like, obviously, this is a trope, and she just leans into it. Or
she does.
The writing.
Yeah, she's very clever, and it kind of has like vibes that remind me of Clueless, and like Clueless with Emma.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about.
Mm-hmm. So the film was 1995. I couldn't remember.
Oh, okay. The film was in 95?
Oh, so sorry. 2010. 95 was the Demi Moore Scarlet Letter, which she makes fun of in Easy A.
Yeah, and I also saw that one, and that was rough.
Oh.
It was like a good film, but like seeing it in 95, I was so young.
Doesn't she like get naked at one point?
Yeah.
Why?
It's like, it's a whole thing.
Why is she gotta get naked?
But then there was also like Winona Ryder right around the same time did like the Salem witch trials. Oh. And so I think like as like in my childhood brain, those two weirdly kind of like started to meld together. And I was like, puritanical culture was metal.
Oh my
like
gosh.
We went and toured Boston.
Oh yeah.
And on like the week of Halloween, or like in October.
Yeah.
Went to Salem, and it was weird vibes, guys.
Wow. That energy was palpable.
It was dark.
It is heavy, and there's something there. Even I actually didn't realize until we took the full tour how many people did perish during the witch trials, but it was less than I thought, but still more obviously than should have ever happened. But it just shouldn't have happened.
There should have been at least just like one witch. Just kidding.
There's got to be in there.
We don't condone death by murder, ever.
But by other means?
I don't know. I'm like, everybody dies, so I don't want to get too
granular on that. So so the Demi Moore version is bad. You're telling me for Scarlet Letter?
I don't know if it just scarred me a little bit.
Okay.
Because I was like so young seeing it. But I'm like, now that you mention it, I kind of want to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Because the Demi Moore one is, or Demi Moore one is more true to the book. It's like, I think it's like historical as opposed to Easy A being like a modern take.
Yeah.
Right. And, Easy A kind of reminded me of like Clueless, but another movie. Where's almost like like that trope or that character arc where like the wise dad or the wise teacher kind of like teaches you to find your value.
Yeah.
I think about like Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Or like kind of that same like pop culture campy feel that people quoted a lot.
Yeah. It has a very early-ish 2000s vibe, but it was like just coming out of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. No, not that one. What's the other one with like Heath Ledger? Was it Heath Ledger? Or the was it Much Ado About Nothing remake?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I can picture the cover.
Julia something or other.
Oh, that's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Is that one? That's the one with like the full cast that she's in.
Because that
Julia
one
Child.
Is with Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Julia Child.
I was like, that's Goldie Hawn's daughter, right? In that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. But there's something.
Oh, 10 Things I Hate About You.
I was like, it's 10 something. God damn it. Thank you for saving me.
Listeners are just yelling at us on the other side. Is it? I know. I'm so sorry, folks. Thanks for being here.
Okay, so the official title.
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
It has that same vibe a little bit too.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of in that transition out of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
Love
rough.
it.
Everyone on the other side is listening. It's like, oh my gosh, screaming.
I know. But seriously, I think AZA is worth a watch. And everybody watch the Demi Moore one and tell me what you think.
Easy has some great names in it too. I'm looking this over. So it has Emma Stone, Stanley Tucci, which is the dad, right?
Yeah.
I just love him in anything he plays.
They were so cute. Wasn't it like they were adopted and they had like a black son as well in it? And the black son said something like, am I adopted? And they're like, no. Like they were like, they were like, we are your real parents. Like they're like those cool parents in movies that just don't exist in real life. You know what I mean? Where you're like, I wish they were my parents, but like zero boundaries because they're like, we're always talking about our feelings and positive sexuality.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a cool mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm all, Hannah.
It's so good though. It's just so funny to watch the interpretation of it in a modern way and just to see her go full in it. Like, well, if I'm going to be ostracized, then I'm going to do it all the way in style.
Pageantry.
Yeah, the pageantry is great. Yeah. And then she makes fun of herself throughout the whole thing. So it's enjoyable. It
is. It's the one, if you've ever seen the most famous, and we'll end on this with this movie. But the most famous scene I feel like is the, I got a pocket full of sunshine. And she's like playing with the cards. She'll, and that's
she's like in the shower, like
with her hair. She is such a good physical comedian.
Yeah.
Like she has such physicality to her comedy in that show where she's like moving and dancing and like Melissa McCarthy is like a very physical comedian.
The other meme I use all the time from that movie is the one where they go to like the Crack Shack or something. I can't remember the places that they go, and she gets like a big old lobster or something. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yum.
She's like, yum.
I use that because like her facial expressions are perfect.
I know. She's great.
I will say, there's one thing I don't like about the show. The one thing that I was like, all right, it's a little overdone here. Because it's overdone and cheesy in a lot of areas, but her best friend.
I know. I knew you were going to say
gets me a little bit.
I don't like her best friend at all.
It was like too much for me on that. Even the really religious zealot, like.
Though they were funny.
Gal was just funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the characters from Twilight? The guy in it that gets.
Yes. He's the one who walks on like the tarp being moved across the field. Yes. He's like the villain in book 1 who gets Bella like cornered in the ballet studio, and then she goes cross-eyed, and then Edward goes cross-eyed. James. Did you remember his name? Archival.
I was like, James?
She pulls it from the ether. She's like, James.
The Akashic records in my brain. That's where that came from.
Sacrilege.
Like we said, this is a little unhinged. It's great.
Yeah.
I like that everyone who was working here just left.
Oh, yeah. The entire team just left the room. They were like, we're going to let you guys vibe.
You're going to do your thing. Well, Easy A, totally worth the watch. It's great. It's funny. It's lighthearted. I enjoyed it. When it comes to Scarlet Letter, I'm like, no thanks. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. That's fair.
Fair? Yeah.
I don't know. You got a limited amount of time on this planet.
Got
to ration it.
See, there's I have that personality type though. Like if I start a book, I feel like I have to finish it.
Capricorn.
I know.
It's okay.
It's like a generator Capricorn combo for me.
For sure.
That I can't. It's like the guilt I feel. And I'm like, why? Yeah, nobody cares.
I'm like a Scorpio projector. So I'm like, we got to cut that shit off.
So I know if I start that one, I'll have to finish it and I will regret it. So
I know. I love that you know that about you.
So I know it and I just walk around it. Okay, let's talk about the next one.
Next epic. I don't know if we talked about this yet, but I felt compelled to put it on the list.
Okay.
Is Dune.
Ooh. I finally watched the second one.
You did?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so I am caught up. Fair warning, I should have rewatched the first one because I didn't read the book and then it'd been a minute. And so we're watching it. We're halfway through and I'm like, what the freak is happening? I cannot remember.
Yeah. So I would say
my bad.
I would say movies 1 and 2 are book 1.
Okay.
I do feel like they pulled in pieces of other parts of the series to bolster 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
Like movie 1 seemed pretty true to the book.
Okay.
Book 1 about halfway through. Movie 2, I feel like was true to the book and had some kind of bonus story plot points from later books in the series that kind of like rounded it out. I believe there will be a Dune 3 movie, and cool. I don't know if they'll go beyond that. These movies visually, just mind-blowing.
Epic.
It was the same director who did Blade Runner.
I
can't remember his name off the top of my head. But very similar vibes to like just super ethereal and cinematic and like just at least an hour and 20 minutes of someone walking in a cape in the sand dunes. Like at least every other shot, someone in a cape in the sand dunes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like, you paid a lot to fly the whole crew there. You just keep.
Well, they know statistically, like that's what makes a good movie. You have to have somebody in the cape, like billowing. All good movies have somebody in a trench coat or a cape that something's billowing.
A lot of billowing.
Think about it.
Billow. Yeah. No, Dune, I felt like, I don't know. That's a big thing to say. It's probably in my top. It's definitely in my top 10 movies of all time.
The full movie?
If you could combine them both together, yes. But I thought 2 was even more impactful than 1. Both of them stylistically, just a cinematic masterpiece. Yeah. And I thought the books I enjoyed Dune. I think it was like a 5-star sci-fi read for me. It feels a little bit like the counterpart to Lord of the Rings as far as like impact in the genre. Okay. So it feels like the sci-fi counterpart to Lord of the Rings in many ways. Like in like the content, the importance of the book, but also like I think the reading level. They felt very similar. Felt like it was like a book written by a dude for a dude kind of a thing. And by someone who's very talented, and it totally transports you to another place. Yeah. Fully. I'm like, I totally get all the hype around Dune. Yeah. And I think it's really beautiful. And I don't even know if you need to read book 2. I read book 1 and I was like, then I read book 2 and I was like, I don't know, book 1
could have stopped.
Yeah. Like it's almost like his world becomes so big. That like you lose a little bit of and I'm a woman reading it and I'm reading for like a lot of emotional attachment stuff, right? Like I'm reading for like the emotions of relationships, and it almost got so big, so political, and literally throughout like thousands of years that you kind of like lose your handle on it a little bit. Like you're not as attached to the story because it feels a little bit more like a historical novel, which I wonder if the Silmarillion is kind of like that. I don't know. I've never read it from Lord of the Rings.
Well, the Silmarillion is more of a companion guide.
Yeah, it's like a backstory.
It's more like information.
Which is kind of where I started to feel like it was heading.
Okay.
As opposed to it being like really focused on Paul Muad'Dib, this prophet, kind of like this Christ figure. It eventually kind of just like, yes, he persists, but it doesn't feel like the same storyline in the series. And so
from what you're saying, it reminds me of like Ender's Game, that whole series, because I read like 5 of those books, and you get more and more distant from like the main character and the main focus, and it opens up this whole literal universe, right?
Yes,
because he's just traveling throughout the universe, and I did kind of taper off because I like that interpersonal relationship with the character, but like my husband read all of them because he really enjoys that big picture, right? And so,
for sure.
Now you know.
Yeah. And I'm like, you might read Dune and just it might be your absolute favorite. But I felt like it was, it's really formative for the genre as a whole.
Watching Dune 2, it was really fun to witness like them writing like the sandworm things.
So
is that what they're called? Like sandworms?
Yeah.
When he calls in like his first one to ride, and I'm like, gosh. It's so big, you know, and everyone's freaking out, and he just is like, I got this.
He was like, I am the prophesied one. I loved it. What's his name? Cool. Butler.
Gerald Butler?
No. Oh, he's not in it. It's the kid who shaved head, the warrior. First of all, just like an incredibly talented cast of like 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like 25 to 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like it has Florence Pugh and the Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya. And then also Butler. What's his name? Anybody?
I thought it was Javier Bardem.
No, he's in it. Oh. I'm talking about the kid who shaves his head. Well, he's like Austin Butler. Thank you.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that one. So
Austin Butler. He is one of the main characters in this one, and he fights in an arena. And I don't want to give everything. Anyways, his character is just like inherently evil.
Oh, yeah.
And so is his whole people. Yeah. But I don't know if it's inherently evil. I don't know. It is like politics at scale. And also like honing in on these key players that have such vivid personalities. It's a beautiful film. I think they did such a good job with it.
So would you rate both 5-star, like book and film?
For sure. For sure for me.
It's a great one.
That was like a real pitch for Dune that I'm sure that all like the Dune fanatics are going to just rip apart on the internet in the comments. It'll be fantastic.
Well, that's our take. End of story.
You don't get to say, you don't have a mic. Awesome. Okay, so next on our list, Kel.
All right, next on our list is Vampire Academy.
Took a real right turn. Into the Vampire Academy.
So we just, it's a 6-book series.
Yeah, we just released a special edition of this.
We did, and I can't remember if we're sold out.
Yeah, no, we have a few left.
Oh, dang.
So if you hear this, go look at our website. We did an incredible edition of these that have symbols from the book as like metal pieces inlaid into the book cover. So they feel like these grimoires. They're so rad.
We were going for like Russian fairy tale kind of vibe.
Yep.
And the metal pieces inside are inlaid so that it lays flush, you know, but it's so cool because it's all the elements in their symbols on the covers. Love it. So the book series, I've read the whole book series. I've read the ones coming after them, and they feel very similar to me as almost like the Twilight genre.
Yes.
They came out around the same time, if I remember.
It is. It's very like that new wave of paranormal YA. Yeah. Like paranormal YA just took off in the early 2000s.
Yeah. So when they originally came out, you know, there was this huge fandom base around it. And not to say there isn't now, but if you compared that series to like a brand new series in the paranormal YA, it's kind of hard to compare because I think they've gotten better and better as they've gone. You know, it was just a newish genre.
Yeah.
And so there's these vampires and there's these bad vampires, the Strigoi, that are basically almost like just completely bloodthirsty. They don't have like a soul. They're basically dead versus just kind of dead.
Versus just like sexy dead.
Sexy dead.
They're like dead. Ugh.
It's the dead versus the dead.
Dead, but ready to party?
But you're hot. Hot with powers. So Rose and Dimitri, main characters again. I thoroughly enjoyed them. Like they were fun.
Yeah, they're fun reads.
Bloodlines is the series that comes after it, which is like kind of an offshoot from.
And I feel like a lot of people who read Bloodlines are like, oh, I love Bloodlines even more.
I really think it just comes down like her writing got better.
Yeah.
Richelle Mead. And
well, she wrote like 6 books and then you keep going. I mean, totally.
It was really interesting too, because it was less about the love interests like it was in Vampire Academy and way more fun backstory about these people who were the ones that are like the cleanup crew.
Yes.
For what all these like Strigoi and vampires are killing and staking. And then they're like, cleanup crew.
Oh my gosh.
And people who come in and help with magic. And so I just was really into that world. Now, if we're switching over to talk about the movie, I have less love. They only made, I think they tried to squish a lot into one movie and it was done, I think like, I don't know, mid-2000.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so
2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw the movie, it felt like, first of all, was it Zoe Dutch who was in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
As Rose.
As Rose. I felt like she was a good cast.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed her, but she got a little campy. Like, it was almost like they were trying to do the same style as the Easy A and 10 Things I Hate About You. It kind of got a little bit like too sarcastic.
Oh.
And yeah. And so I didn't love that about it.
Yeah.
And I also felt like they miscast the bad guy. I'm not going to say who it is because it's a surprise.
Oh, I was up.
I felt that was, but the hardest miscast was Dimitri.
Yeah.
He was like a 50-year-old man.
It was rough. So because
and I was like,
they were supposed to be together, right? And I'm like, and there is like this teacher
there's the
student
age difference.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of, in the book, we got a different description than what we got on screen.
Yes. I mean, it was, I think 18, 19 for Rose, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be either like 28 or 32, somewhere in that vein. But like this guy seemed like pushing 40 something.
Yeah.
It felt that way. And so it's always easier for me to read it for some reason.
It is because you like edit out the annoying things.
You kind of are like, and I'll make it work in my brain. And then when you see it, you're like, well, okay, red flags. Like
red flags.
They're obviously there, but like,
yeah,
it's just harder to see.
Well, and it's also, I think, kind of their dynamic. She seemed a little bit too annoying to be appealing to someone who is like 30.
God, they do that in every film though.
I know. And well, they don't, I mean, I feel like they do a little bit.
In a lot of these YA, like crossover.
Where I'm just like, this fascination with like this older male, like this vampire, this fae, this older man. Are we all just healing our father wounds?
Ew. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought it too.
I know.
Or like, oh, I can save him. Like that whole sitch, right?
Yeah.
Or I can change him, like whatever that is.
There's a few tropes in the world that it's like, if we're really getting to, I mean, we don't read books to be well-adjusted humans. Like we read them for escapism, right? You know, and that's what self-help is for. And they're boring as hell.
Yeah.
But
sprinkle those in occasionally.
But we're like, so I'm a good person. It's fine. But I mean, it kind of feels like that where we're like, I just want someone who's like wise and stable. And it's like, maybe some father wounds and maybe some of this like really desiring this healthy masculine.
Yeah.
And then it kind of swings sometimes too hard into like them not having a backbone like we saw with Rhysand in book 3.
What the hell happened there?
Right. And was it you who was like, it's like Favorite put his balls in a purse and carries it around. And I was like, yeah.
Kinda. Book 2 was like, I was so into Rhysand and A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yeah.
Like, they were both so good at being in their authoritative power and masculine and feminine. And I was just like, yes. And then book 3 happened and I'm like, damn it.
I was like, what message, at what point are we trying to make here? The thing is, we talk about this like we have the skill to write a book.
Easy to
and we're like, if they would have just done this.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was something weird about Vampire Academy and like it was like the chemistry or something just didn't all make sense.
I feel like they could totally pull this off now as a mini series. Because that seems to be the trend.
Because they were doing that like
they did it in like one movie.
Yeah, and they were doing that Lux or Winx or whatever that series on.
Oh, the Wings.
No, it's like it's the one. It's like Vampire Academy, but they have different types of powers. And I was like, this would have been better as Vampire Academy.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, but it has eluded me because
something with an X.
I think it came out during COVID.
It did. And we're like, well, I guess this is what we'll watch.
I thought it was the Wings series, but maybe not. But they spelled Wings different.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Something like that.
It's WINGZ.
It's like a Utah name.
Yeah. It's my son Wings.
And so these students come to the school but they all have different powers, but they're not dead.
It's almost like a lot of the series now, I find you watch the series and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a book, because they put so much into the series and they've got so much better at adaptation. Yeah. Whereas like this was a series I watched and I was like, well, this is clearly a formulaic YA novel.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is very like Vampire Diaries, Vampire Academy vibes. And Fate.
Damn.
Yeah, we weren't even fucking close.
I knew it was a short word. Oh, okay.
Winx Saga, and it's called Fate. Okay.
I think they did 2 seasons, right? And then it was canceled.
Yeah. Well, because the main character was so unlikable.
She was really rough.
She was really mean.
Yeah. It's like, where was the redeemable qualities? We're just going right into this one.
We're like, we care about this apparently.
Well, I struggled. Like season 1, I was like, fine, I'll give it a go. It's always a little bit touch and go on that first season. And then I watched season 2 and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like she just got worse. So
really?
Yeah.
Sometimes in season 1, they like course correct.
Yeah.
And it's like worth going into season 2. Well, good to
In
know.
my opinion, not this one.
All right. Well, let's move on to number 4 today.
What is it? Surprise me.
I know. It's okay. And you might not have seen this, but wait, did you watch Silo?
Yes.
And did we talk about Silo?
A little, but not a lot.
Okay. So I'll just quickly do Silo. I haven't read the books.
I have not either.
Okay. And so I'm like, I would, if anybody's read the books, DM us, let us know if you loved them.
The cliffhanger at the end.
I know. Silo is essentially like this about these characters who live in a giant silo.
I mean, we're
dug
talking
in,
huge.
like it takes a full day
silo
to climb up the stairs all the way to the top. So like hundreds of floors. It is like a giant drill drilled into the earth's center, down into the earth's crust, and built an entire city that is circular with stairs that run up the middle. And so you get off on your level, and that's where your home is, and your work is on different levels.
Yeah.
And the premise is so rad.
It's like a dystopian world, right?
It's a dystopian world.
Like it's not inhabitable anymore.
Well, from what they've been told. From what they've been told, the world has basically like global warming or nuclear warfare. It's not totally clear, has taken them out. And the thing that's interesting is it becomes kind of like a Giver, Children of the Flies. Like it becomes like a dystopian where the old world becomes lore, and why they are there, it's a lot of brainwashing, like why they're in the silo.
Yes, I remember now, because there's like this secret item that I don't know if I want to disclose.
Don't.
There's a secret item that is found that is from like an old world.
It's called an artifact.
An artifact. And the artifacts are just crazy, right? Because it's just like everyday objects.
Like a tape recorder or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but the way they talk about it and they treat it, because these people at this point have literally never seen nature outside, like greenery. Like
it's like several generations after they've gone into the silo.
So it's all just passed down information. So it is like The Giver in that way for sure. But this like political twist on it.
And the acting is fantastic.
It is really good acting. And every episode I was like,
I was like, I 100% recommend it. Rachel Fergeson is amazing in it. I love her.
Do you remember what platform it was on?
I think it's on Apple.
I know. I'm like, I don't think it was Netflix, right?
No, it's Apple or Hulu. I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyways, fabulous.
It's on Apple TV. Thanks.
On Apple TV.
Zach. It's highly recommend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd be interested to hear if people like the book as much as the movie, or if I feel like sometimes the book is like this beautiful jumping off point for a script.
I feel like that one, it would totally get a second season if more people watched it, possibly.
Oh yeah. Go watch it and hype it, because the acting
was great.
It was one of those ones where I had to force myself to not binge because I wanted to save it. That's also how Severance was for me too.
Okay. I haven't seen that one.
Severance felt even like had a darker edge to it to me. You would enjoy Severance.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a psychological thriller where they literally create a severance. They like cut a piece of their brain that connects left and right.
Oh.
And they have like their at-home brain, and they go down the elevator and they have their at-work brain.
Weird.
Because it's like a severance package, but it's like Severance.
Oh.
It's clever as hell. It's Ben Stiller who wrote Severance, the screenplay. So it's not a book.
Okay.
I don't think so. But Ben Stiller wrote it and directed it, I believe, or he's like heavily involved.
Cool.
And Adam Scott is the lead.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds awesome. I'm like, when I was going back to Silo, I was thinking the other thing I really enjoyed about it is it feels like there's no character that you can fully rely on.
No.
So it becomes almost like a psychological thriller, but it doesn't really feel like it starts that way.
No. It actually kind of has a little bit of like District 12 Hunger Games vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, that's kind of what I was trying to like get at.
But
I think
more grounded, literally, like just
like,
not as like fantasy based in that way. It felt very like a realistic dystopian world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because they have like this cafeteria where everyone meets and that's where they eat and stuff. And they have that big like window to the outside and it's just like barren, dead branches and things like that.
Yeah. It's like a camera, like a video, like a camera that films the outside that projects down into all the lunchrooms.
And every now and then, if somebody either, I think, gets in trouble enough in the society or they choose it, you can choose it, you can go outside.
Yeah.
But they've never seen anyone come back.
Yeah.
So if you choose it, that's like, I'm done here.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens a lot of the time is that they go out and wipe the camera.
They'll
clean the camera off that everyone can see what's going on outside. It's almost like this like last courtesy or something. And then, and that's the big, like, there's just so many things that I'm like, I can't get into it, but it's just fascinating. It was a really interesting show. So
yeah,
I'm a 5-star for me.
I would totally recommend it. I'm so glad you watched it and enjoyed it. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so enthralling and the human behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, your turn.
We're going to take a hard left into Ella Enchanted.
Holy shit. Hold on for this one.
I'm all, okay.
First of all, we sold out of this special edition in like a day.
The day we put it out. Okay, hang on.
That's you?
Oh, I thought I had my... Just put it on Do Not Disturb airplane mode. Okay. Going back. Yeah, so... We released Ella Enchanted, our edition, sold out the day of. It's so beautiful. I love it.
It's so cute, little fairy tale. It reminds me of the vintage fairy tale books we would buy as kids, or like the Barnes and Noble editions, like it's got like this beautiful or illustrated cover that feels very fairy tale-esque.
Something that's fun on our edition that is like backstory is so Gail, who wrote the story, Gail Levine, she wanted to do something different on the cover where there was no main characters being represented. So really it was bringing these fairy tales to life on the cover. Yep. And so they're just kind of in and out and tucked in the corners. And it feels very nostalgic, but it doesn't look super kiddish to me.
No.
It's just charming and very fairy tale. I don't know.
It's cute.
It's really cute.
Go look it up and feel bad that you can't buy it.
I can't remember if this is one we have a wait list for or not.
I don't know. If there is, sign up for one because I would love to do another reorder. I'd love to do a reprint on it.
So many people were excited to add this to their collection because it is meaningful from when they grew up, right?
Yeah.
So the book we love. Like clearly we wanted to put it back out into the world, our edition, our spin on it. And if you haven't read it, I would just recommend it for just about any age.
It's a delight.
Yeah. And so at birth, it says Ella is cursed by a young fairy named Lucinda, who bestows upon her the gift of obedience.
Yep.
Anything anyone tells her to do, Ella must obey. So that's like the quick premise. And so she has to learn to work with her gift because the second people find out, they know they can command her.
Yeah, they'll use her.
Yeah.
Or they'll command her to do things.
That sucks.
Yeah. So like it gets really clever. Well, they'll be like, do laundry. And she'll be like, okay, well, I won't do it right away. You know what I mean? Like she finds these little ways to get around doing everything someone says. Or like there is a moment where it's like, defend yourself. And then she like becomes like a kung fu master, right? So there's ways that she can become almost superhuman when people command her to do things. And then ways that it really can, it's kind of it's really like a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
You know, like she is kind of Cinderella with stepsisters and things like that. So that's kind of the character setup. How did you feel about the film, Kelly?
Well, it's a 2004 film. Anne Hathaway, you know, she was really like just breaking onto the screen at this point, if I remember. It's like, I liked it for what it is.
Yeah.
I can easily put my little kids in front of it and they can watch it and it's cute and it's campy, but it doesn't feel like it was pulled straight from the book necessarily for me.
No.
It just feels like it was inspired by almost. And so like, is it a movie I want to watch all the time? No, but I thought it was really darling for what it was. It feels like it's like a middle grade show.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
So I'm all
people who loved Ella Enchanted and it was like their favorite childhood book were very upset by the movie. And so that always tells me that like the movie was probably made more for the mass markets appeal as opposed to like the avid reader fan. I feel like that's probably similar to The Giver where people saw The Giver and they're like, cool. But then like people, it was like their favorite book were like, what a travesty.
It was like, is it Aragorn? Is that the one?
Oh my gosh. Aragorn's another one that people are
oh no.
So passionate about.
Very passionate.
In fact, my 32-year-old brother, if I bring up Aragorn, he like gets visibly upset.
He's all, hang on.
Yeah, he's like, the film. He's like, they just bastardized. Like, he's got all these opinions.
Oh.
And I'm all, easy.
I don't know if I care that deeply about
No, I mean, I don't know.
But I love when people do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I like love the people who are so upset by Ella Enchanted that I'm like, yeah, you really loved that book. And you needed it to be true to it, you know? So, yeah.
I'm like, I don't have a lot of strong feelings about it, but I thought the adaptation was really cute and quaint and just darling. It's obviously going to be a little campy.
Yeah.
A little bit cheesy, but so's the book.
I know.
You know, it's just different.
Oh
again,
my gosh.
Visualizing it.
Which made me think of Austenland.
Okay, I love that.
I don't know if we ever talked about that.
Who knows? Here we go. We're going to just talk about it.
Austenland.
Here goes the papers.
Yes.
We don't need a script.
Nope. Yeah, as if I was like going really hard on the script.
Let's go.
Okay, so Austenland is written by Shannon Hale.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of Shannon Hale's stuff is in the same vein as Gail's stuff. Like it kind of has that like female protagonist, like girl power. And a lot of Shannon Hale's middle grade stuff feels a lot like Ella Enchanted to me. Mm-hmm. So that's what made me think of it. And Austenland is about a woman who just lives her whole life for Jane Austen. She's a contemporary woman.
Yes.
And she decides she saves up all her money to go to this
it's like a full
immersive
experience,
Austen experience. So she goes to the UK to like stay in an English manor that this wealthy woman owns and runs to have an Austenland experience. And there is a set of cast members who they know they're interacting with cast members. The cast members are paid to give these people a real Jane Austen experience.
Yes. It's freaking hilarious.
I'm going to go watch that movie tonight. I loved it so much.
Of course it doesn't go as planned, right?
No.
Like, of course, like you're getting her just like, oh my gosh, this is the best day of my life kind of experience. When she gets there, she's just wonderstruck. She's so excited. Like everything about her is like, I love Jane Austen, you know, like lover of Jane Austen. It's all over her. She gets there and quickly realizes like, oh, I've been literally living in a fantasy world for like the majority of my life. It's kind of like this big shift that she has.
Her like arc.
Yeah. But in the meantime, it's just a freaking delight.
It's a riot. So it's Carrie Russell, I think, is the main lead. And then what's the gal who was in Blue Lotus or whatever, or White Lotus, whatever that show was.
Are you talking about
from Jennifer Coolidge? Jennifer Coolidge?
Yes, from American Pie.
So, she's like, wow.
Bend and snap.
She's all to bend and snap.
That's from Legally Blonde.
I love her.
She's so great in it.
She's hilarious. She's just like unhinged in it. They kind of, I don't know if she had a script.
I feel like she's always a little unhinged.
Absolutely. I like
the best.
Thoroughly enjoy her.
Yeah.
She's so fun on screen. And
she's like the rich gal that comes, right?
Super wealthy. And she just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
And she's like
hitting all the actors.
There's this actor who is just like clearly gay.
Yes.
That she just thinks that he's so into her. And he's just like doing his very best. She's always you're like not allowed to kiss the actors. And she's just doing her best to corner him and make out with him. Yeah. And it's so charming. And of course, there's a Darcy. And of course, it's a Jane Austen tale in the end.
I know. It's like Inception of Pride and Prejudice, right?
It really is.
And the book is just as darling as the
agreed.
movie. So we'll recommend.
There's a pitch for local author Shannon Hale.
I know. What I love about Shannon is her range, because she writes picture books. She writes middle grade. She does graphic novels. She does young adult. I don't know if she's done adult. I'm trying to remember, but
I don't know.
She just writes a lot, and they're all great.
And she's a talented author.
Yeah.
I enjoy her. I saw her at Storymakers a few years ago. She did the keynote and it was really beautiful.
I've seen her speak a couple times. I really enjoy her. So Bro, love you, Shannon.
Love you, Shannon. It's a plug for Shannon Hale. Okay, awesome. So I am going
let's pick one more.
Okay, we can either talk about A Christmas Carol or Les Mis. Well, there's also on here A Jungle Book and Confess, but I feel like I'm like, I don't know if you need to say a whole bunch about those. I'm gonna watch them if you want.
I feel like Christmas Carol has so many adaptions.
Okay,
that one's. I don't even know how to encompass that. Do you want to do? You decide.
We could do a whole episode. I will just say only this thing about A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
I adore A Christmas Carol. I don't know if there is actually a best version. Everybody feels like there is. My least favorite version is the one where Jim Carrey does all the voices.
That one's freaky.
It's a little bit too, I don't know. It's like too Jim Carrey.
It's not the right vibe.
It's edgy, too edgy. And I'm like, The Muppets is a piece of cinematic gold.
It's pretty awesome.
The Muppets A Christmas Carol is incredibly accurate and emotional. And I would encourage you to watch it every Christmas with yourself and your kids.
My personal feeling about The Christmas Carol is I don't enjoy it as much on film as I do either reading it, or my tradition since I've been little is I go see a play.
Yeah.
I go see the play. Seeing it actually brought to life in that way is exactly how I want to be immersed in that one.
And I will say the movie, The Man Who Invented Christmas, is a very rose-colored take on Charles Dickens. Like, he was a little more rough around the edges in real life.
That's true.
But I loved that film. And it's just like, if I could just immerse myself in that like color palette and the emotions of it. And I love that film too.
That was a good one. Wait, what was the one that came out? Spirit? Is it Spirit? Like,
yes.
Is this like a funny twist on it? It was on Netflix film.
It had
Will Ferrell
and Ryan Reynolds.
Hilarious. It's a twist on A Christmas Carol. And I was like, okay, that one's pretty funny.
Yep. I was like, there you go. Okay, Christmas Carol.
Check.
Les Mis. They sing every fucking word.
You'll hold my hoops.
I was like, I didn't realize that was what I was getting into. I wish I would have gotten a little drunk before I saw it. Okay, I really do enjoy music theater. And I've like been a season's pass holder at Hale Theater. Like, I think that stage acting is a blast. I also think everything, unless you are like Dune and you've got a lot of sand dunes to film, I'm like, it should be 90 minutes. Why is everything 2 to 2.5 hours in theater?
I don't know.
They don't even have good enough snacks.
No.
Like, no theater is giving you good enough snacks to be there for 2 hours. And all they really give you, not in Utah, but other places, is wine. And so I'm just sleepy. And so I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I should have had some wine before they missed.
I know.
Could have slept to the second half. So they sing every goddamn word.
It was a lot. I saw the Broadway play in high school. I went for, I think it was Decca. We went back to New York and saw it. And I was like, I've heard this is amazing. I read the book, but I hadn't seen the play or anything. And I was literally doing this to my watch. Like, I'm looking at my watch nonstop. It was like a 4-something hour play. 4 hours.
Yeah, because they can sing it slower.
Oh my gosh. It was, while gorgeous and amazing and classic, I was like, could have wrapped that up in 2. Had the exact same feeling.
Because it's all about a loaf of bread, which the greatest meta ever in Disney was when Aladdin stole a loaf of bread and they were chasing him. And he's like, all this for a loaf of bread? And I was like, fucking whole plot of Les Mis. Done.
Yeah, it's true.
Done. And also Russell Crowe, one of the worst casts. I'm like, Gladiator, yes.
We want the body, not the voice.
Just, well, and it's fine. I don't, nothing against Russell Crowe, but like, somebody should have been like, know your range, my guy.
No, well, I think I was expecting it to not be, like you said, like a full musical completely. I'm like, oh, it's a movie. They're going to be adapting it to be like, they're going to be talking. No. There were some really incredible moments.
Absolutely.
Like,
and
Hugh
you
Jackman.
kind of forget about them because it was so long.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be so spicy. And like Anne Hathaway did a really beautiful job of hitting that note, man. Like her whole shave my head, I'm a prostitute now.
That's the name of that song.
Yeah. You know what I was talking about.
Yes, I did.
So I'm like, it feels very French all around, which makes sense. And it's called The Miserables. And I was like, and somebody in France was like, this is a great idea. I don't even know the history of that play. I'm so irritated by it.
The book was hard too. I did it like one of those check mark things. Like, I did it. I read the book.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no more. Then I was like, young adult fantasy sounds like a great thing to get into right now. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
I felt the same. I thought it was really impactful at certain moments, way too long. Why is this guy singing? You know, when I was thinking about Russell Crowe, it was a little awkward and embarrassing in the theater.
I know.
In the theater.
Because we're all like, oh.
Compared to these other actors and actresses.
Well, they're like Eddie Raymond was amazing.
Yeah.
His friend in it, who's on Broadway now, I think his friend is actually like the lead. He comes and does Moulin Rouge. So he's on Broadway still. The guy with the curly hair that led the revolution. Wish I knew his name. He is still on Broadway. And like I saw him in Moulin Rouge, which was fantastic. And also, Hugh Jackman was great.
He's always great.
I mean, there was a lot of spit flying, but there always is. It's great. No, really beautiful singing, but it's not like, I'm going to go up the road.
As I run to the loo.
Yeah. My daughter. See, I couldn't deal. I would be sick of myself. I get sick of myself talking. Can you imagine if I sang everything? Sorry. Okay, I know it's a
experiment.
Genre. No.
Not your cup of tea is what you're saying.
You guys, I got to be spicy for the views. It's
for the views.
As if we know.
But I really feel
literally have no idea how many people listen to these. Aaron Tiviot.
I
all
knew
for
that.
You.
It's all for you. Okay, the last thing we want to end on is it Confess?
No, Confess already came out. But It Ends With Us has a pretty banging cast.
Oh.
Yeah, Blake Lively is doing it on Colleen Hoover's book. And we love Colleen Hoover, co-host at heart.
Co-ho.
We've read all the things. Started way back with Slammed. Like I've been reading Colleen Hoover for a long time. Mm-hmm. And before she had like any followers, we met her at BookCon. She was one of the most genuine, cool authors we've ever met.
She's just like she is on like Instagram and stuff. Yeah. That's just how she is.
She's cool.
All the time. I love it.
Very cool person. And we also love Blake Lively.
Like, I just want to know if there's someone in this world who doesn't like her.
Yeah.
And then I would punch them.
And then we want to punch
she's so relatable and lovely.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I love her.
Yeah. Starts with the sister to the traveling pants for me. And like fully love the books and that movie.
Yeah.
Like was very engrossed in them.
So to be clear, we have not seen the movie. We read the book.
No. Not my favorite coho, but I do love Colleen. And our favorite coho is November 9.
November 9.
And nobody knows that one as much. Like it's not even close.
Fine. It's
I know.
So good. It's a slightly less tragic than some of the others.
Only a little less tragic.
Just this much. But it's so good.
Yeah.
They're all great. They're all written well. It's just the content is always a little bit
I know. And everyone loved Verity so much. And and I was like, that one was way hard for me.
I ended up not finishing that one.
Yeah. It doesn't like it's there. So Colleen explores dark places in the human psyche, which I appreciate. And It Ends With Us deals with domestic violence. And so trigger warning on that.
Yeah.
And Blake seems to have done a beautiful job. When I've seen all the previews and everything, it feels very true.
I've only seen one or two people who were able to see be at the screening.
Yeah.
And they've all been like fantastic adaptation. Like it does expand on a few things that the book doesn't in a good way.
Yeah.
And it has that really good balance because especially in the book, I was wondering if they were able to pull this out in the movie, which is, can they showcase that dilemma that Blake's character goes through of being so in love and then just one day it switches, right? And that the violence slowly starts to kick up. And just that that experience of feeling like that victim and being stuck in that moment and not knowing how to get out.
Well, and Colleen talks a lot about this because of her mother. She talks a lot about her mom's story. And that's why it's called It Ends With Us, is because her mom was in an abusive relationship with her father. And she's very open about this, about domestic violence and about how her dad was very charismatic and this very lovable person in a lot of ways, and how her mom knew that if she stayed in that relationship, it would invite her children to enter that same kind of relationship. And so she explores a lot of the dark side of that in the book, and the light side of it too. And it's very interesting. So I'm super excited to see it. And maybe we'll do another episode on books to movies and include that one.
Our full on take. All right, let's end this part 26 episode.
Let's wrap this up. I know. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate and review us.
And like a good book, recommend us to your friends.